Sound 92.5 FM.
No place I would rather be than Hogan Road, Duval. On a Friday, I can just feel it. I can feel it. Bounce back. Adapt. Move on with it. Turn the page, right? That is kind of what has been going on with this football team. Put everything behind you and head towards Houston. That is where the series will take us, and this series dates back, oh gosh now, 20 some odd years, ever since the Houston Texans officially did come into the National Football League. They went on that great little run, right, where they won 9 in a row, but all of a sudden Jacksonville's won 2 out of the last 3, including 2 at NRG Stadium in Houston, and that is where this will get underway at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Of course, all the pregame, in-game, post-game right here on both stations. Your home of the Jaguars, 1010 on the AM, 92.5 on the FM. The latest look, Houston still around a 6-point favorite. 45.5 is your total. Both teams really beaten up as we get ready for this football game. And, you know, we're going to talk about that extensively. First things first, excuse me. I hope you're doing well. I'm sure it's been a major inconvenience for a lot of you because of the power. I was with you, still am with you. Lost ours last night out in Bartram around 11 o'clock. And my biggest issue was just sleeping. When you're a big guy like me, you needed to be chill in order to get some REM in. So I found myself this morning, I got up, took myself a cold shower, and got the hell out of there. So I've been on the road all day. I guess I have heard now recently from the GF that the power just went back on in Bartram. So that's good. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I did a little bit of yard work today, picked up some debris. But again, I couldn't really do anything with the debris. I mean, you think you got problems. What do you do with debris? And I couldn't get the garage door open, right, because there was no power. So I just kind of left it there, made a pile. And Ponte Vedra Beach, Mandarin, a lot of folks dealing with it. It is tough. However, so many others are dealing with it far worse than we are. And it is tragic. It really is. I hate it. Talked with Gibby, who's from Boone, North Carolina. My goodness, Agent Gibbs, his hometown, just crushed. Valdosta got it. I know other parts in our state. I guess Tallahassee was hit hard, but not as hard as perhaps we thought yesterday. Anyway, hopefully things still do, begin to get a little bit better. But if you are inconvenienced, I think that's the only message I'll give you today, is that there are others out there who have it far worse after this hurricane than you do. All right, let's get straight to the game. Let me spell this one out for you. Is this it for Doug Peterson? This team loses on Sunday. Is he out of a job? Now, the answer to that question for me is no. The only way it will become a yes is if this team looks like they have quit. I mean, if this becomes an absolute woodshed affair, I'm talking about a 34-3 type of football game. And I think that's a question you got to ask yourself right now. Is Houston 7 points better than any other team in the National Football League after what they saw them do this past weekend against the Minnesota Vikings? I understand it's a week-to-week league, and it's going to be a bounce back. It's going to be a real test there for C.J. Stroud and company, albeit he's missing two huge parts of his offense. The third guy is questionable, and defensively, they're without Jimmy Ward as well, so they're missing 3 starters. Jacksonville's down a couple of more starters, as you know, in Big Foye, and once again, Evan Ingram. It's going to be a game-time decision to see about Darnell Savage. I'll go through the injury report coming up here in just a little bit, but I get knee-jerk reaction, and I get how you want immediate change. I think you have to consider where you are and then understand where this organization is. For starters, where do you benefit by throwing Doug Peterson out the double doors? What do you gain? A new voice. Okay, who is that new voice? Is it Mike McCoy? Last time I sat with Mike McCoy, when we met individually with position coaches, he was trying to talk me through a one-on-one conversation telling me that Trevor Lawrence never makes mistakes. Okay? It was one of the most incredible Q&As I've ever been a part of in 33 plus. He's like, well, I don't know what you're seeing. I'm like, I do know what I'm seeing. He makes mistakes. He fumbles the ball. He throws the... And he's like, no. Receiver error. Wrong route. I'm like, wow, you're protecting the quarterback. I get it. Maybe that's your job. But is he your voice? Is Phil Rauscher your voice? The offensive line doesn't listen to him. It's the worst offensive line in the National Football League. Is it Chad Hall, wide receiver? The wide receiver? Is it Ryan Nielsen coming in as the brand new... So, Press Taylor? So, who's the voice? And you still have 13 games. So, getting rid of what you may believe is a problem is one part of it. But finding a replacement when you have 13 games becomes such a bigger part of the plan. You have one former head coach on this staff. That is Mike McCoy. You have first-time offensive coordinators, first-time special team coordinators, first-time, I guess now that was with Mike Caldwell. Ryan Nielsen is not a first-time defensive coordinator. He was a co-defensive coordinator 2 years ago with the Saints, and he was a defensive coordinator last year with the Atlanta Falcons. But I just want you brilliant fans to understand that you don't give up on a year, even if you are 0-4. You still have 13 games remaining. The only way, in my mind, that Doug Peterson has shown the door is if you can tell, and I can tell, that this team is quit. And again, if that's the case, then that goes back to their personal pride. Now, if they get blown out Sunday and they lose to Indianapolis here, and then you go across the pond, and who knows by that time, with Drake May, or is it Brissett, and obviously Caleb Williams in Chicago. But if you lose those type of games, which are, in my mind, winnable, then after 7 contests, okay, it'll be amongst the earliest firings in the history of the NFL, but maybe that is when you make it. I just don't think you do so right now. And I'd love to get some of your thoughts on it. 641-1010, brought to you by the good folks over at Lifetime Enclosures. And also, we remember what happened last time, right? You fired Urban Meyer. What benefit did this organization have? The opportunity to get on out in front of it, all right? I think there were 6 or 7 coaching changes that year in the NFL. Get on out in front of it. Look what happened with this Mickey Mouse situation. It took more than 5 weeks to figure out who your head coach was going to be. They immediately brought in Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke and Shad Khan. They immediately brought in Jim Caldwell. And then it became day after day, after week, after week, after a month. And then finally they bring back Doug Peterson after all of the Byron Leftwich interviews and the front office from Arizona coming here and, Leftwich sliding in from Tampa. And recent history tells us it's not like they're going to identify who their guy is and get out in front of the other teams, which could be Dallas and Philadelphia. And who knows, so many head coaching positions are going to be open at the end of the year. But let's be honest about this as a group. They screwed up massively the hiring process when it came to Doug Peterson. Okay? They brought him in. It would be like, let's just say you're running and ripping. All right, let's say you have the choice of any female out there, doesn't matter, size or shape, and you just run to her and she loves you. And you're like, yeah, man, yeah, I'll get flirt with all these other women. And then you call that girl back 5 weeks later, and she's like, oh, take me. I know I've always been your number one. That's what Trent Baalke did. He let 5 weeks go by. And it became crystal clear to me that Doug Peterson was not the guy that Trent Baalke wanted. So if you want to fire Doug Peterson on Sunday, what benefit do you have? I'm all ears right now. JJ, step in if you got one. 641-1010 on the text line, brought to you by Lifetime Enclosures. If you blow this man up right now, what advantage does this football team have?
I guess if you have, like you said, if the players have quit on him, then they're willing to play for somebody else. You still do have a lot of time left. You don't want to just throw away another Trevor season and write that one off. Oh, that was a coach on his way out. It doesn't count. It's just, there's too much in the season left, so I could see if they do think that there's a lot to play for, to just get rid of him if you're shot. Cut your losses now. I don't know too much about Mike McCoy, but yeah, maybe they rally around him. I do think that 0-3 team playoff stat is fugazi. I think it's a fake stat.
I thought Fugazi was only fake jewelry.
Well, whatever it is.
Oh, I mean, you may be right. I've only heard Donnie Brasco use that term.
But it's fake to me because we've added more games and we've added another playoff team.
Yeah.
So, yes, in the last 25 years, it is close to impossible to get to the playoffs as an 0-3 team. But now the rules are completely different.
Yeah, they are.
So, but if you're 0-4, yeah, you're probably done.
Yeah.
But to me, it wouldn't be about, making a playoff push with Mike McCoy. It would just be let's try to somehow save Trevor's season. We can't just write off another Trevor season.
Yeah. And this organization has done that before. There was a glimmer of hope with Doug Marrone when Gus Bradley was fired after a game in Houston. We flew back, and the man had lost his job. He walked around the plane and thanked us all. It was one of the most awkward moments that I've ever experienced. So, what you really have to consider is with the Rooney Rule and with everything the way it is in the NFL, it's not like you can fire Doug Peterson next week and say, Mike Vrabel, you're our guy. Bill Belichick, you're our guy. Oh, we're going to get Ben Johnson. I mean, do you think Detroit right now is legitimately has a chance to win the NFC? If that's the case, that becomes a massive holding pattern from when you are allowed to interview, and I think the interview rules changed.
They changed it so you can't, if you make it to the Super Bowl, I think you could still be interviewed.
They change these damn rules every year. I mean, why do they... The NFL, we all love the NFL, but the rules that they change are so incredibly obnoxious. It's almost like, hey, you reporters, hey, you media types, we're going to have a test at the end of the year. You're now allowed to talk this week during your playoff bye, but you're not allowed to talk before this. I mean, it changes each and every year. If it is Ben Johnson, which it may be, number one, without tampering, you have to know you're going to get him. And number two, if you're putting all your eggs in that basket to get him, it's going to be a long process with the expectation that Detroit is going deep into the playoffs. It's very, very difficult. And I am not a Doug Peterson apologist. I am not. I like him. I will tell you, I am incredibly surprised that Jacksonville is in this position. I think they would be 1-2, but I thought they would lose 2 games. Frankly, the way the final score showed it, or I guess I should say margin of victory showed it, not the overall score, but margin of victory. I expected them to be 1-2, but I didn't expect it to be like this. So I just want to start with that, because I get it when you're a fan. You want things to happen immediately. This organization has proven that they don't know how to go through the process when a change is working or when a change is about to happen. And all you have to do is look at the last process, right? We still don't know who Shad Khan's inner circle is. We actually received a tip this week, a rather large tip from Albert Breer, that Bill Belichick was very instrumental in the hiring of Doug Peterson. I had never heard that once before in this town. Maybe you have, okay? I had not. And that Bill Belichick is close to Shad Khan, and that Bill Belichick is close to Tony Khan. I've been saying this since Shad Khan got here. I don't know who his football people are. We've guessed Bill Polian. We thought that had a lot to do with the return of Coughlin, right? We thought, to some extent, Tony Dungy. We don't know. This is a brilliant man. This is a multi-billionaire. Everything he touches is a success, except for this football organization, which is the losingest franchise in team sports over the last 10 years. Not the losingest NFL franchise, the losingest team franchise. NHL, MLB, NBA, NFL. Right here, Duval. The worst. The last 10 plus years. He's trying to fix it. He's angry. He wants what you want. Shad Khan, I think, has finally showed you he really wants to win, right? I mean, I remember this is just an investment for him. He bought it for $760 million. It's now worth a few billion. This is a moneymaker for him. And maybe that's the way he was introduced to you as a Jaguar fan. Let's be perfectly honest about this today. Shad Khan wants to win. He said this is the best team in Jaguars history. He's wrong, because those 90s teams were better. But Shad didn't know. Shad doesn't know about that. I don't think he was a lifelong Jaguars fan. I don't think he was big on the 96 AFC Championship game and the 99 AFC Championship game. Just my opinion. This owner wants to win, and he's proven it with what he has said. What he has right now in that office is not the right people or person to get the job done, because he screwed up massively when it came to Doug Peterson. Not that he was the wrong coach, that it took that guy so freaking long. 5 weeks. Really an embarrassment. It is. And don't kid yourself. This is going to be the third time I've said it this week. Trent Baalke's not going anywhere. Okay? He's not going anywhere. Doug Peterson, I would say right now, has less than 10% chance to survive and hold on to his job. Trent Baalke will be here for the next head coach. Okay? Trent Baalke is in the ear of Shad Khan. And I will be absolutely, totally not surprised. I will be shocked if he is relieved of his duties. I think his comments are, I have given you the best team that money can buy. I have drafted the best team. It's the coaches. It's the players. The coaches have not gotten to the players. And that is why this is not a winning football team. So that's what you're really faced with. And hey, maybe Trent Baalke's right. I don't know. Maybe this scheme is awful. Maybe the play calling is awful. It's his fault with the offensive line. If I can see that the offensive line's been terrible for 3 years, how can he not see that? Makes you wonder. Opening comments tonight brought to you by Shmunez Vision, family organization. They've been around forever, okay? And they're not going anywhere. They will handle and they will go through change. They're fellowship trained and cornea, cataract surgery, all refractive surgery. Dr. Catherine Shmunez, Dr. Neil Shmunez, actually, surgical eye care. Surgery on my right eye 8.5 years ago. Yeah, I didn't see it coming. Didn't think there was anything wrong. He's like, brother, you need this removed tomorrow. He went in, sat with me, talked to me about it, had surgery the very next morning. There's never been a setback. You can get all of that and so much more. Just go to Shmunez Vision or check them out online there at Shmunez Vision. You can also go to Instagram and you can pull up all of the testimonials at Shmunez Vision. All right, I am fired up. You tell me now. Is this it for Doug Peterson if they lose? I've given you my opinion. I don't think so. Well, let's listen to you on the other side. 641-1010, brought to you by Lifetime Enclosures.
It's the ultimate tailgate. Someone's going to win a tailgate combo pack from Southern Steer Butcher.
Valued at $100.
And it could be you.
Monthly winners get a Corona tailgate tent with a cooler, chair, and
Collectible football.
enter at 1010xl.com.
Hey, John, my dad, Randy Marion's gone absolute Cadillac crazy. You won't believe our Escalade lineup.
Well, how crazy we talking, Jennifer?
Buckle up, folks. We've got over 35 Cadillac Escalades.
35 Escalades? That's luxury overload.
I'm talking fully loaded models, cutting-edge tech, and that signature Cadillac style.
And the deals are even more luxurious. $4,000 Escalade loyalty rebate.
Plus 5% off MSRP on retired courtesy vehicles. Head to Randy Marion Cadillac on Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville.
Plus tax tag title $8.99 MNP and resist all.
Tell them Jennifer sent ya.
Ballou here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Here you can see.
For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Pre-Game Friday is brought to you by MyBookie
And Dream Finders Homes.
on 1010XL.
Hey gang, Prosser here, telling you once again about Chad and Sandy Newman. Mortgage rates are down, creating more active buyers and sellers. If you've been waiting, now is a great time to sell your home before more homes flood the market, driving down prices. So maybe you want guaranteed no-hassle home sale, but don't want to give up hard-earned equity to do it. They can handle that. You see, Chad and Sandy can take every problem you think you have and replace it with a promise. Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. The success stories are rolling in. Mike and Lisa in McCormick. We inherited a family home that came with equity but also a mortgage. We needed to sell fast to avoid extra expenses on a second mortgage. We heard about Chad and Sandy on the radio and called. Everything they say on the radio is true. The home sold in 3 days for full asking price. Call Chad and Sandy today, 904-414-6200, or go to chadandsandy.com. That's Chad, ANDSANDY.com.
Hey, football fans, looking for the ultimate game day experience? Best Bet St. Augustine has you covered. We're talking big plays on the big screens, food specials that'll make your taste buds cheer, and drink deals that'll keep your spirits high. And get this, we're open till 4 a.m., serving food and drinks until 2. Make the smart play. Head to Best Bet St. Augustine and ante up for your team. Find us at bestbetjacks.com. That's bestbetjacks.com. Best Bet St. Augustine, where every game day is a win.
Every Friday night in every town in America, communities come together for a time-honored tradition.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Friday Night Lights.
Presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning on 1010XL.
Joe C. for Preferred Roofing, reminding you your roof is more than just felt and shingles. It's a system that not only keeps your home dry, but also impacts your heating and cooling bills. Preferred Roofing and Construction is a GAF Master Elite Roofing Contractor, lauded for having the ability to educate and inform homeowners on their options. Why GAF and Preferred Roofing? They're veteran-owned and operated with ties to Duval for decades. A family business ready to make sure your family has a good roof over its head. Log on, preferredroofingjacks.com.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Diego.
Hi, Diego. It's Jennifer Coolidge. You know, I just want to say your cashback match makes me feel so special. It really inspired me.
That's great. Doubling the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year is what we do.
Well, I'm doubling everything now. Double dating, double dipping, double feature, double header, double whammy. You know, basically double or nothing.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
Life has its share of challenges, and when it puts you to the test, make sure you reach out to Rebound Rehabilitation to give you the quickest path back to full health and confidence. Rebound Rehab, specializing in helping patients overcome back pain and sciatica, arthritis, and fibromyalgia, just to name a few. Rebound Rehab, location Physicians covering the entire First Coast, getting you back in control with a pain-free life. Sports injury, workplace injury, whatever it might be, you can rebound. Log on to reboundrehab.com for more info.
SportsForecaster.com has all the data you need to project tomorrow's winners. Register for free and track the performance of all your favorite players and teams, including all your fantasy team picks and prospects. Sports Forecaster has the most detailed player profiles on the web, precise depth charts, every transaction, every injury, every news update. No ranting or raving, no preening or barstool bluster. At SportsForecaster.com, you get the timely info you need for every game. SportsForecaster.com. Sign up for free today.
The time to buy an emergency generator is before you need it, not when you're sitting in the dark. Storms happen in a hurry in Florida, so be prepared. Protect your family and property with American Electrical Contracting. Call them today, 737-7770.
It's time to take it back to the 90s, Jags fans. Be at the bank Sunday, October 6th as we debut our Prowler throwback jerseys against the Colts and induct legendary head coach Tom Coughlin into the pride of the Jaguars at halftime. Kickoff is set for 1 p.m. You're not going to want to miss this matchup. Lock in your seats now by going to jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Into the Night with Rick Ballou on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
All right, programming notes. Monday, we're here 2 to 4 on 1010 AM. Maybe a tiny bit of static, but we love it. We love old school radio, right? And then we'll get back to our regular routine, 6 to 8. But Monday, 2 to 4. And again, the question, is that it? They lose. Is Doug Peterson out of a job? I guess I'm not surprised by all of these answers. It's nearly unanimous. It's head on down the road. And for Doug Peterson, it'll be the turning of the page. We'll see. I've been called out here for fact checking.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You've been fact-checked or called out for fact-checking?
Both. And I think you would understand something to our devoted listeners. Yeah, I go on rants. Yeah, I get excited. I got a little bit of the Warren Zevon in me, the excitable boy. But I tell the truth, okay? The losingest team franchise in the last 10 years, here's a guy demanding facts. He wants information. Well, I have it right here in front of me. Over the last 10 years, the worst win percentage in team athletics professionally. The Jacksonville Jaguars at 331. They begin this year 0-3, so it's dropped even more. It's then the Jets at 337. It's then the Detroit Pistons at 368. It is then the New York Giants at 371, the Cleveland Browns at 377, the Orlando Magic at 378, the Buffalo Sabres at 382, and the Cincinnati Reds at 387. Okay? Those are facts. This is the losingest franchise in team athletics. Now, they're coming off 9 and 8 years. So it's getting better. And I think that's what makes this so much harder for you to deal with, right? It felt like this thing was turning around. You had the top pick in consecutive drafts. You know who was fooled? Myself. You know who was fooled? You, the fan. You know who else was fooled? Shad Khan. Shad Khan, who almost never speaks directly about the football team on the field, said this is the best team in Jaguars history. And it's up to the players and the coaches to win now. And that is why, according to our buddy Demetrius Harvey of the Florida Times-Union, he was angrier Monday night in Buffalo than he ever is. And it's why it took Doug Peterson 40 minutes or almost an hour to come talk to us after a game, which is absurd. It's reportedly because he was in a meeting with Shad Khan. Those are the facts. I mean, I was hoping that was going to change. Maybe it will. Maybe it begins with a big change Sunday, with this trip to Houston. All right, let me give you that again. Thermal Engineers. They help bring you the program each and every night. And they're an expanding company right here in town. HVAC contractor. They have been so for many, many years, more than 20 years, this company. And, folks who are in the industry when it comes to heating and air conditioning and things along those lines. Maybe you've come to a point now where you can't advance anymore and your career's gone sideways and you're disgruntled. They brought in some other folks who are making more money and you're never, the next guy up and you've been waiting and you're upset about that. Okay, well, let me tell you about Thermal Engineers, all right? They're hiring right now qualified technicians and installers. How does top pay, 401k, full benefits, and a signing bonus sound? From my understanding, the signing bonus is really, really good. I have a great friend, Eric Neal, I've known forever. He was with the company for more than 20 years. He just got up and left and went to Thermal Engineers because the offer was too good to pass up. Go to Thermal Engineers, Inc. That's Thermal Engineers, Inc. Or give them a call at 230-1172. It's an equal opportunity employer. Again, we're talking about top pay, 401k, full benefits, and as well, a signing bonus. The good folks at Thermal Engineers. So go ahead and check them out. And look at all of these coming in, JJ. There's no support. Here's the way I should have asked the question. After our daily reports, first of all, after an off season in which I thought they made the right move after the right move after the right move. I guess the only move I did not agree with, and JJ, you didn't agree with it as well, was giving Trevor Lawrence all that money. But we'll leave that behind us right now. We won't even mention that. All right? After daily updates from camp in the Miller Electric Center, who would have thought that Doug Peterson's job would be on the line heading into game number 4?
I thought he was on his way to 10 wins, winning the division. I thought the Texans were going to take a step back, which I still think they are. But yeah, did not see this coming whatsoever. I mean, I thought maybe if they didn't make the playoffs, Doug might not be retained after the season.
Oh, yeah.
But I never once thought it was going to get like this in the middle of the season, much less the first 4 games of the season. Hell no, did not see that coming.
No.
I was like 8 wins is probably their floor. Maybe 11's their ceiling, but I did not see the regression from Trevor coming, man. Something's up. Something has to be changed there with the offense.
All right, let me give you some good news. Devin Lloyd did practice today after not practicing on Thursday, limited today, but earlier this morning, Doug Peterson did say that he should be fine. Darnell Savage, who's missed a couple of ball games, got a "we will see" from Doug Peterson and his quad. He is officially listed as questionable. Gabe Davis officially listed as questionable with his shoulder. Let's see, 2 other questionables. Jerrion Jones, the shoulder, and as well, that'd be it. We do know that out for sure is Evan Ingram, and big Foye Oluokun is not going to play. 3 definite outs for Houston. And they're big. Tank Dell, wide receiver, out. Joe Mixon is now officially listed as questionable. So in NFL terms, that's 50-50. The former Gator, Dameon Pierce, out with a hamstring. Also in their secondary, let's see here, Jimmy Ward with a growing. He is out. They have one other player who is questionable. It's Big Foley. So after getting released here, he is now in Houston. Both of these teams are going to be missing starters in this matchup coming up at 1 o'clock on Sunday. All right, here's what I want to do. More Jaguars, absolutely. Okay. I want to replay the interview with Tim Brando because there's so much on it when it comes to this Georgia-Alabama game, and we deserve to give this a ton of pub, right? And the only reason why I've backed off somewhat is I feel like they're going to play a second time and maybe a third time. I do, even though the schedule makers that third time, you just know the only way that is ever going to happen would be in a championship game. The SEC will still have the broad shoulders and the power once they get into that smoke-filled room and they assemble a 12-team college football playoff. I also want to spend a couple of minutes on the President's Cup only because if you have not paid attention, this thing has gone absolutely nuts. I mean, the United States won all 5 events on Thursday, tournaments being held in Canada. Today, the international team came back and blew out the United States in 5 events. So we're headed towards what should be a pretty interesting weekend with more 4-ball play tomorrow. And then, of course, on Sunday, the singles matches. So I want to talk to my good friend Rick Shoemaker about that. Spend a few minutes talking about the President's Cup. So we got President's Cup. We got Tim Brando. We got much more on Alabama and Georgia. We'll talk about tonight's game as well between Miami and Virginia Tech. And yes, much more on your Jaguars.
Looking for a new vehicle? Take a look at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. Now's the time to save big this summer. Choose from more than 250 new and over 1,000 used and certified pre-owned vehicles on the lot or shop anytime at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville.com. Hyundai has one of the top warranties in the business. Lifetime powertrain and a 5-year bumper-to-bumper warranty, plus 3 years free maintenance on a new vehicle. Give us the opportunity to earn your business today. Atlantic Boulevard, Jacksonville, or visit Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville.com. Welcome to the family.
Ballou for Shinatri Chiropractic. They've helped me get rid of my headaches, pain in my neck and back. Are you suffering from an auto accident? What about TMJ pain? Headaches associated with jaw clenching, grinding of the teeth, or stress-related disorders? Shinatri Chiropractic has a physical therapist on staff for rehabilitation, quality chiropractic care, dry needling, massage, and acupuncture. Call 743-6700 or go to ShinatriDC.com.
Discover the difference that local expertise makes at First Coast Lighting and Fans. Visit their showroom at the Avenues and browse high-quality products to match your desire for elegance, quality, and uniqueness at First Coast Lighting and Fans.
When all you have is a hammer, everything is a nail. I'm Dr. George Bari, and like me, I know you have been bombarded with PRP and stem cell treatments from companies that promise the world and charge prices to match. Or the surgeon that convinced you the only way to treat your injuries through surgery. At Bari Orthopedics, we offer the best PRP treatment on the market with prices that won't cost you an arm and a leg. We also have the expertise to treat your injury surgically, if that is what it entails. We can discuss all surgical and non-surgical options with you and make sure you get the best treatment available. Come see me, Dr. George Bari, at Bari Orthopedics.
Hey, Hicken here. Are you tired of having your carpets professionally cleaned only to have them looking dingy again? Zero Res can help. I'll tell you what, they have the technology. Zero Res uses its patented ZR water that cleans beautifully without using any soaps, detergents, or shampoos. That means zero residue left behind. And guess what? Zero Res falling back in time for September. 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $129, and we'll clean a 4th room for free. That's right. The 4th room is on me. Zero Res, man. Spell it forward. Zero Res, spell it backwards. It's a right way to clean.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On September 27, 1923, New York Yankees legend Lou Gehrig hits his first of his 493 home runs in a game against the Boston Red Sox.
When you're behind the wheel of your car, you expect a safe journey. But what if the other driver's careless and you're injured? The responsibilities and demands on your spouse just doubled. You suddenly can't work. So what happens to your family's income? And by now, the emergency room and medical bills may be sitting on your kitchen counter. You've got some problems, and we want to hear about them. Call us at 396-5555. Farah and Farah, protecting you and your family since 1979. Office, Jacksonville.
This right here is as good as it gets. This is life getting lived without obligations or complications. This is filling your cup and savoring the moment. This
This is the gift of presents, served to you in a place where there's room for everyone and enough to go around. And the best part, it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pit masters since '68.
Hurricane season is here, and if you own or run a business, you must protect your valuable property from parking lot floods. Call Duck Duck Rooter, your storm drain maintenance experts. Our VACCON team specializes in regular storm drain maintenance to keep your property safe and secure. With Duck Duck Rooter, you can trust our professionals to keep your storm drains clear, preventing floods and ensuring the well-being of your customers and employees. Call us today at 904-862-6769 to schedule your storm drain maintenance. Visit DuckDuckRooter.com for more information.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and it is hot out there. You know that, Greg. But Honda has a plan for you on or off the road.
They do. There are a ton of Honda scooters, Honda mini motos, great for the beach. Also get you out in the woods with a Honda side-by-side. Plenty to do and stay cool.
Yeah, four-wheelers, and you can trick them out.
We can. From stereo systems to big builds, we do it all.
Everything's there for you to see. CyclesOfJacksonville.com online or on Atlantic near Regency. Check out Cycles of Jacksonville.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes. I've been playing Prize Picks lately, and I have no idea why I waited so long. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with more than 5 million active members. And beyond that, it's a blast to play. It's easy, it's exciting, and it makes those college and NFL games so much more exciting to watch. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stats and watch your winnings roll in. This week, I've got Vikings quarterback Sam Arnold throwing for less than 229.5 yards, and Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson rushing for less than 39.5 yards. It's just that easy. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money as quickly as 15 minutes. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code JAX, J-A-X, and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code JAX on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. It's all there, Prize Picks. Run your game.
This is Dr. Turner Vossler, Assistant Team Physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jaguars, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
The Jaguars have another difficult matchup heading into Houston on Sunday. The offensive line has struggled to protect Trevor Lawrence through their first 3 games of the season, and their job isn't getting any easier, as the Texans' pass rush has been one of the best in the NFL so far.
Well, I mean, obviously, you have to commit as many resources as possible to keep edges clean. And then when a team like this has edges, both edges are dangerous threats in terms of pass rush potential. And Derek Barnett and Jared Hughes they're great pass rushers behind them as well. We have our hands full again, which is no different with a lot of these edge teams. The teams have on the edges like this.
The pass protection needs to step it up a notch if they want to give Trevor any time to get the ball out. I'm Max Fink here with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
Presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line. Hello. We can wiggle it.
College football with Tim Brando, 15 minutes away. Much more on the Jaguars as well. But the last 2 days in Montreal have been absolutely spectacular. It's the Royal Montreal Golf Club where the President's Cup is underway. The United States of America has been on a roll. I mean, they've won 10 of the last 11. They're 12-1 in one lifetime. They got off to a 5-zip start yesterday, but the international team absolutely bounced back on this Friday. Let's bring my good friend Rick Shoemaker to talk some golf with us. Of course, he is the owner and operator out at Cimarron Golf Club right there on 210. Rick, how are you?
We're fantastic, man. How about you?
Man, everything's okay. Hopefully you and your family all right after some weather that rolled through here?
Yeah, everybody's good. Just some debris and wind, but everybody's safe. Most important thing. So, it's like it never happened, and things are moving forward, and it's another great Friday night here.
How about this? This is like getting up 28-0 in a football game, then all of a sudden you go and grab a couple of beers and a hot dog, you come back, it's 28-28. This is incredible to see what the United States did yesterday and how the international team bounced back today.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Yesterday was unbelievable. I was really shocked. I thought a couple of the international teams looked pretty strong and would keep it close, potentially a 3-2, but we handled it,
was the tie, Florida State, Florida, right? 31-3 in Tallahassee. Came back 31-31, 1994.
Yeah, so a little bit like that. So it was surprising to say the least. But hey, forget the paper. They always talk about that. There's some powerful young players on that international team, and they're showing what they're made of.
Yep, 30 matches in 4 days, halfway through this year's President's Cup. You got to get to 15.5 points. I'll lock that. 5 apiece. Coming up tomorrow, we have 9 4-ball matches and then 9 foursomes. The difference between those two, for those of you out there who don't know, and I know we have an outstanding golf audience, is that with the foursomes, it's the alternate shots. Let's spend a minute on that, because I think that's fascinating. And we've all played captain's choices and what have you, those type of events. But when you're a successful PGA Tour golfer and you're playing one ball and it's an alternate shot, how much does that change your focus and your overall game?
I think they all, obviously, they're at the peak of the sport, and they would say it doesn't change it too much, but it has to. Look, I mean, the mentality of the pressure just alone, right, that you're now obligating your partner to play whatever shot you hit. It's not easy. That's pressure. So those guys feel it. They get sometimes too technical, I think, with the type of ball they're playing and all that. But at the end of the day, alternate shot to me is one of the most difficult, regardless of your level of play, because just that innate pressure you're going to put on yourself. And then after that, when you hit 1 or 2 bad ones, it starts to leak into your conscious even more, and become apologetic, and that happens even out there. The TPC Louisiana event, I believe, is there's some alternate shot, and it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's strategy a little bit, who tees off and who doesn't. So it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. Then
I would think in competitive golf, Rick, that if you're not doing your part, if you're supposed to hit a green and you put it in the bunker and you're consistently leaving your partner with an ill-advised shot or a more difficult shot, maybe that would play into your head, and I wonder how that would be with you, not only your immediate partner out there on the fairway with you, but your overall team. I mean, we always hear how this is an individual sport, who you work with your caddy and your swing coach, but what about that feeling of not carrying your weight in a foursome event?
No, it's a big deal, and it can weigh heavy on them post-round and how they feel going into the next day. Again, but the greatest players figure out how to shake off a bad day when it's just their ball, or shake off a 0 for 10 from the field in basketball, or whatever it may be. So you gotta have faith that those guys are that talented and that strong-minded to forget it. But it does play in. And to your point, I think some of these guys that are big scramblers, when you look at the percentages and they only hit 60% of the fairways, it's tough, because they're used to missing the fairway and then playing out of the rough and then getting up and down or chipping in, and now all of a sudden they miss it. They missed the fairway, but their partner now is playing out of the rough. So I think this is as much psychological alternate shot as it is the abilities of the players.
All locked at 5 apiece. The United States up 5-0 on Thursday. The international team bounced back today, winning all 5 of their matches. And again, we head towards Saturday. They've announced the tee times there. Then again, 12 individual matches. Coming up on Sunday, Rick Shoemaker, our guest. I always love talking golf with Rick. Of course, he's the owner and operator out at Cimarron on 210. I was lucky enough to play in Jim Furyk's tournament recently. He's got a bunch of folks coming in town next month over at Timuquana. I spent a couple of minutes with him. But we know so much, or at least we think we know so much about football head coaches and baseball managers. When you're a captain of an event like this, it's going to be all strategy as far as your pairings, whether it's individual, whether it's 4-ball, foursomes, no matter what it can be. How much of that changes now for him after being up 5, now tied, his overall strategy personnel-wise the next 2 days?
Well, I think it's going to change. I thought it was interesting. Xander Schauffele's performance, I think, what is he, 0 for 2 right now?
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised to see him lose. I was surprised that he barely hung on that first day, and then Jim changed the teams up. I would expect more out of it, and I was kind of shocked at that loss.
and that was Matsuyama and M over Cantlay and Shoffley today. I mean, a 7-6. That is a Jaguars Buffalo Bills score from Monday night in golf terms. Put it that way. Hey, final thoughts from you. What did you make of the trash talk between buddies going on with Tom Kim and Scotty Scheffler yesterday?
Oh, I loved it. I think, again, golf needs more of it. It's great to see. There's some heat between them in a positive way, but golf needs more of that, and more so now than ever. And I think it's just awesome, and I hope it continues.
Will we ever get to that? Will we ever get to that in the PGA Tour? I mean, we see it in the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup. Will we ever see that at the Players' Championship or in a major?
I think we will. I don't know how soon, but I do think times are changing. I do think you'll see more of that. Again, I know they travel together, and a lot of these gentlemen have grown up playing together, and there's friendships. But at some point, again, you got to step back and go, okay, I'm here to win, and I don't care who's across from me on the other side of the green while I'm putting. And so I think it's going to change. I think you'll start to see more of it. Again, there's a positive way to do it, like they did yesterday, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And I hope they keep it up.
All right, he is Rick Shoemaker. He is the owner over at Cimarron. I got to say, during football season, my golf game gets put, unfortunately, in the garage. But I got to get out there. I got Tuesdays. Now that we get back to our regular schedule, the NFL takes Tuesday off, so I got to start playing some golf over at Cimarron. Give us the very latest. What's going on at the golf course after all this rain?
Well, we survived it. We're actually still catching up a little bit when it comes to mowing. People don't understand, but we've had a triple cut fairways to try to get caught up. The rough is thick as ever, so some of the members and regulars have talked about how tough it is. I go, well, it's rough, and that's why you're supposed to hit the fairway. So, but we're catching up, and things are looking great out there. We're getting ready for a fantastic fall season. We're looking forward to fantastic conditions, and we're going to be ready. We're starting a Wild One package here coming in October again. People signing up by simply their email. They'll get the best opportunities, the best prices, and potentially the all-inclusive, which is golf, a beer, for discounted rates. And we send those out on Mondays or Tuesdays every week. So I encourage everybody to go to our website, sign up, and come back out and see Cimarron if they haven't been here a while. And if they haven't in a long time, give us a try. Yeah. We'd love to have you here and experience it.
No doubt about it. Look for the Loyalty Club program as well on the website at Cimarron. And live music tonight, the Stone and Barrel Tap House?
Oh, yes. It's going loud. Nice and loud. Big Jeff is here. Tomorrow we got Vibe RW, great gentleman, plays down in St. Augustine a lot, but he's up here tomorrow night as well. And we'll move to music to the patio starting in October. Oh, man. That's my time of year when it starts to cool down just a little bit. Rick, always a lot of fun. Thank you, man. Talk to you soon. Absolutely. Thank you. Here he goes. Rick Shoemaker, really good man, and appreciate his golf input. The President's Cup is just off to an A-plus start. I mean, this looked like it was going to be blowout city. 5-0 yesterday. The United States, the international team, bounces back today and wins all 5. So this is what you want. Who was it? Oh, I'm trying. Was it Mackenzie Hughes who began the tournament by slamming a beer on the first tee? Canadians own Mackenzie Hughes. Of course, this tournament is going on in Montreal.
I'll look it up. I didn't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I absolutely saw that. I was like, obviously I just spent 8 minutes on it because I wanted to give it some pub and build it up a little bit. But when you do something like that, and when you do the trash talk, does it feel a tiny bit like, I don't want to use the word exhibition, but we don't see stuff like this on the PGA Tour. And Rick Shoemaker just talked about how great, and I kind of thought that we were going to see this a little bit with Bryson DeChambeau before he went over to the LIV. But how cool would it be to actually have golfers like that on the PGA Tour who are legitimate trash talkers. And I know it's a gentleman's sport, and you're not supposed to do it, but
I think
everything
it would change
changes.
the game. I think it would bring in so many more casual
I do
sports
too.
fans. It would change the sport for the better for me. And yes, it was Mackenzie Hughes. He gets down on one knee before he plays on the first, and he chugs a 16-ounce beer.
Have you ever had Canadian brew beer?
He didn't either. It was actually a Stella.
But it might have been a Canadian. I don't know anything about Stella.
Like a Labatt Blue or Molson or something like that. I've never had either.
Have you even had a Canadian brewed Budweiser?
Are they different?
Yes, they have more alcohol. Oh, yeah. I mean, where I come from.
Whoa, I didn't realize that.
Where I come from in Boston, it's tough to get Canadian brew beers here in
Florida.
I guess not, but I'm just I drink Miller Lite. But I will say this, the Canadian brew beers, growing up in the 80s, more alcohol per 12-ounce can than what they serve in the United States. And I'm glad you mentioned Labatt's Blue, because that was always my go-to. A lot of guys like the old Molson Golden. All right, I haven't seen one of those around in a long, long time. But Labatt's Blue, and every once in a while, if I'll see that somewhere, I'll get after it. Very good tasting beer. But hey, with the football that's going on that we still love, also pay attention to the President's Cup.
Absolutely.
And I do want to say about Cimarron, Rick Shoemaker, he has put a tremendous amount of money and effort into that golf course. Don't be turned off by the name, because it had a horrible reputation, and they have fixed that. And you can go check them out right there on 210. That is Cimarron Golf and Country. All right, when we come back, let's get to Tim Brando. Let's turn our attention a little bit of college ball. Brando's got a big one tonight. It is going to be Rutgers. Yeah, Rutgers taking on the University of Washington. So we spent a couple of minutes with Timmy B talking about that, but he's very outspoken about the deal at UNLV and the NCAA, which is always a great listen, and also his opinion on Georgia and Alabama. So Fox Sports, Tim Brando, our weekly conversation with Rick Ballou, that's coming up next.
Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Do the Garber Wiggle, Garber Wiggle, 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 Garber Wiggle.
If you're looking for a pre-owned vehicle with lifetime warranty, Garber Auto Mall can wiggle it. Best price, best payment, best trade-in value, Garber Auto Mall can wiggle it. With a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles, Garber Auto Mall can wiggle it. Visit us in Green Cove Springs or at GarberAutomall.com. And remember, at Garber Auto Mall, there is always a little room for wiggle.
Garber Wiggle, 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 Garber Wiggle.
It's storm season, and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and X to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. From GFL, Green for Life.
Home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
DivorceMenOnly.com. This is Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Our firm specializes in representing men in family law. That's all we do. That's our only focus. We can help with all of your family law needs, such as divorce, custody, alimony, and child support. For over a decade, we have helped thousands of men with these types of issues. We even have an appellate division ready to challenge a judge's ruling. If you need a family law attorney, go to DivorceMenOnly.com. DivorceMenOnly.com. Offices, Jacksonville.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation, light sedation for cleaning, and incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
AC replacement? If your AC unit is ready to go kaput, then it's time to call Florida Home AC. With over $3,000 in tax credits waiting for you on select systems, take advantage of it. Call 777-4300. Get Florida Home AC to cool you off.
Hello, this is Father Nicholas Lowe, and I want to talk to you about putting your worries in the right bucket. So often we put our worries in our own bucket, but many times they need to be in God's bucket. The Bible says, present your problems always to God. In other words, leave them in God's bucket. Understand that no matter what is out of your control, it's never out of the control of Almighty God.
To hear more inspirational messages by Reverend Dr. Nicholas Lowe, please visit our website at stjohnthedivine.com.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists returns with their free bumps and bruises evaluation clinics. Now with 4 locations, these free injury assessments are open to all schools and athletic programs. Saturday mornings from 9 to 10 through October 26th at Cortex Sports Performance in Ponte Vedra, Preferred PT in Fleming Island, and also at Brooks Rehab on Centurion Parkway and Brooks Rehab at World Golf Village.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Ballou here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Homeowners, listen up. The Fed has taken action, lowering rates for the first time in years, and Loan Pronto has followed suit by lowering mortgage rates big time. Prosser here. Loan Pronto just locked in a homeowner at 4.59% APR, the lowest in 2 years. Whether you got your loan last month or last year, it's time to call Loan Pronto and dump that high rate loan. You can lock in a lower rate fast with virtually no paperwork and usually no appraisal. There's no limit on how many times you can refi, so get started. Even if you're in process with another lender, give Loan Pronto a call. If you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Purchase loans available as well, so call now. Get your rate quote in minutes with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. Call 904-999-1508 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 904-999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781 on approved credit, MLSconsumeraccess.org.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Into the Night with Rick Ballou on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
All right, Jaguar fans, we're going to get to you in about 20 minutes. Let's get to Tim Brando. Caught up with him on Wednesday. It is our weekly conversation from Fox Sports. Tim Brando and Rick Ballou. New Jersey is the site of a matchup on Friday night. Could it possibly be as good as the thriller we saw one Friday night ago? It is the great Tim Brando at Fox Sports. He'll have UW and Rutgers at 8 o'clock on Fox, and it's our weekly conversation with Rick Ballou. Timmy B, how are you, sir?
I'm wonderful, Rick. By the way, it's not your garden variety Big Ten matchup, right? Washington flying across country to play in Piscataway, New Jersey. As I said, it's not your garden variety Big Ten game, but it is being played in the Garden State.
Yeah.
So we got those things working, and I think the mojo for Friday night college football has taken the college football world by storm. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Last week's game between Nebraska and Illinois, I think I may have predicted with you last week that we would have over 4 million people watching. We, in fact, peaked our audience in the last hour at over 5 million, and we're the 3rd highest rated college football game of the weekend last week. We outrated Big Noon. The only a couple of games that the one game that was the highest rated was the Michigan USC game. And gosh, you tell me what the other premium game was. I want to say it was maybe an SEC game. Can't remember which one. But we outrated Big Noon. We outrated LSU and UCLA.
for Friday night is unheard of. It's a brand new package, and look, Nebraska brings a lot of eyeballs. They're a tradition-rich program. We'll see what we do with this audience from the Seattle area and Washington. They're certainly a brand after what they did a year ago, albeit with a new coach now and Jed Fish. But they're a good team that can solidly believe that they're in the Big Ten race, and Rutgers is undefeated again, as they typically are in September. And Greg Schiano, I think, this year has a team, he might have the best running back in the country. I mean, this kid is off the charts good. If you don't know about him, you will know about him after Friday night. And Manunga, he's incredible, and he's a very bright kid. He's from this area, Jersey born. So fun storylines again for this game, and I suspect we'll continue to build the momentum as viewers get accustomed, to watching games on Friday night. And Devin and I are not going to do all of these. In fact, next week we're going to be at Iowa State, which is another team, by the way, that is probably under some people's radar. We've got Iowa State and Baylor on Big Fox on Saturday night next week, and I'm looking forward to that. But Jason Benetti and Brock Ewart are going to do the Michigan State-Oregon game, which, as you know, will get a big audience. Oregon is a ratings monster, and UW's not far behind them. And even though these two teams, Rutgers and Washington, aren't ranked, the receiving votes, they're right there. Rutgers is always going to be overlooked because they're Rutgers. Yep. And they're where they are. But Washington, as you know, were it not for the loss to Wazoo in a game that we sort of kind of predicted here a few weeks ago could happen. If it weren't for that, they'd be in the top 15 right now. So if they beat Rutgers and beat them pretty good, they're going to be right back in the top 25 without a doubt next week.
Rutgers has that old school feel. They literally have the double rushing attempts to passing attempts. This is like Big Ten from the 1960s, 1970s. Is this because of the schedule they faced, or they really believe in this rushing attack, and that's going to be the bread and butter for Greg Schiano?
No, they do. I mean, that's what Schiano's all about. I mean, Schiano's always been that way, and it worked for him before. You remember that team that I want to say they played South Florida and maybe a 1 versus 2 or 1 versus 3 when Levitt was coaching. Do you remember that team?
Vaguely. I remember the Levitt team. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, that team played at Rutgers in a Thursday night game on ESPN back in 2007. That they're saying here in New Jersey, they're saying this is the biggest home game since. Okay, they're going to do a blackout here. Kids are going to be going nuts. Crowd atmosphere is going to be unreal. I've never done a game here. So that's another reason why I'm excited is anytime at my age I get to do something for a first time, I'm excited. So that's got my attention. But they're saying biggest game since then. And I want to say that same year, South Florida was involved in games when Levitt was coaching. I want to say they were involved in another game with Louisville. Okay. And Rutgers was involved in a game with Louisville. That was like 1 versus 2, 1 versus 3, or 2 versus 4. They were highly, highly rated. That was that crazy year in college football when LSU managed to win the national championship in the BCS with 2 losses.
I remember.
So everybody was like trade off who's number 1, every week it seemed. And I want to say South Florida got as high as 2. And I want to say at one point Louisville might have been number 1. But Rutgers was also in that mix. All 3 of those teams in the old Big East, Rick. Go back and look it up.
The old Dave Gavitt Big East.
The old Big East college football version.
Right.
The Micah Resco Big East before they broke away and started the American.
Yeah.
Back in those days.
No doubt about it.
But I just think it's going to be a fun game. And fall is in the air. I'm looking out. I just got to my hotel, literally just. And by the way, if you're flying through Atlanta, it's going to be trouble tomorrow because I got out of there this afternoon at 2:30, and the outer bands of Helene were already kicking in Atlanta. So it's going to be too good. I've got to watch live from my travel people on my return on Saturday morning if I have to fly over and go to Houston or Dallas to get home as opposed to through Atlanta. So Helene is already rearing her ugly head at the AJC right now.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Tim Brennan has a big matchup coming up on Friday night. UW at Rutgers. That'll be at 8 o'clock on Fox. Okay, Saturday night, Dan. Hopefully you'll be comfortably at your home at the Chateau to watch this one. Right. Welcome to the SEC, Kalen DeBoer. A home matchup for Alabama against Georgia. Both teams coming off a bye. What an incredible matchup on Saturday night. Your thoughts going into this one?
Well, they're always going to be coming off a bye when there's a monster matchup in the SEC. They do a nice job of scheduling it that way, don't they? Mm-hmm. To make sure that all the big games, the teams have, both of them have byes the week before. They're ahead of the game in that regard, always have been. I know a lot of people are believing that, and listen, I'm a Kalen DeBoer guy. I think he's a great coach, and he's won everywhere he's been. He came up in a lot of ways in a manner that no other coach has. You know, to have coached at the lowest levels of college football and to get to this level, the pinnacle at Alabama after doing what he did at Washington is incredible. But this is a different animal for Alabama. They have not played anybody that comes even close to the size and speed this year. This year's version of Alabama has not seen anything like Georgia. Now, people are talking about, well, what do you mean? Alabama's Alabama. No, they're not in today's world. Not when you have 30 to 40% of your roster flipping over from year to year.
Right.
Yeah, there are a lot of guys that have been on great programs and championship caliber programs that Nick Saban had. But not only is it going to be different for them against Georgia, more often I think because of what happened recently, recent history should tell you that Alabama hasn't played anybody. Even that game at Wisconsin, even though it was a road game and even though it was against a decent Big Ten opponent. I won't go any further with Wisconsin than saying decent. I don't think they're a great opponent. I think they're a decent opponent. They won't come anywhere near to what they're going to see in Georgia. Okay, take a look at what, for instance, Clemson has done since the Georgia game.
Oh, yeah.
Look at what the Clemson quarterback has been able to achieve since the Georgia game. All right? Now, keep that in mind as you watch this game unfold on Saturday night. Georgia did play poorly in their game at Kentucky, but that happens in the SEC when you go on the road, and particularly when you go on a road against a team that had just looked lousy the week before, bitten the bit against South Carolina. You know, they played at home and looked horrible against South Carolina, and they were embarrassed and they were pissed, and they came back and they played with an edge, and Georgia, for whatever reason, did not have their best game.
Yeah.
Well, you know what happens with Kirby Smart coach teams after that? They're going to be – that team will not resemble what you saw against Kentucky. I think Georgia's going to win the game. I think they're going to win the game convincingly.
Interesting. Okay. I'll say this. The best thing that could have happened to Georgia was the drop from 1 to 2 and get an extra week to think about it. I mean, the motivation is going to be incredible.
Sure.
And I watched that game, the entire matchup, and I thought that, Timmy, I thought that Kentucky was the more physical team in the ditch. They ran for 170 yards, and then offensively, ETN had a decent game, but they lost Tate Ratledge. So let's put it on Georgia right now. Can they run the football? They struggled against Kentucky. Can they run the football against this Alabama defensive front?
Yes, and they'll be able to throw the ball against the Alabama secondary, in my opinion. Now, they may open it up first, in order to get the run going. This is a game where the talent levels are such that neither team will be able to do what they're accustomed to doing from a game plan standpoint to win.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I know Kalen DeBoer well enough to know that he has no problem winging it. Not with what he did with Penix and Odunze and McMillan and those guys. The last couple of years at UW, but Beck is a guy that I think, took that loss to heart. When I say loss, it felt like a loss for him the way he performed in the game with Kentucky, and I think he's going to answer big time. And I think Georgia's, players, they got more of them. That's first and foremost. They've got more of the best players than Alabama has, and it's rare that we say that.
Yeah.
In recent years, you would always say, yeah, Georgia's got a bunch, but they don't have more than Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this time the script is flipped. Okay, Alabama's got a lot of really great players, but they don't have as many as Georgia. And I think going on the road for Georgia after the open date takes some of the advantage that Alabama would have by being at home. I think to be rested, refreshed, and to have had all that time with Kirby in the aftermath of a performance like that, where, yeah, you survived and you got a win, but he could coach your ass up big time because you didn't play the way you're supposed to play, and now you're playing Bama. I think that gives him a tremendous edge. And for Kirby, he's going to look across the sideline, and he's not going to see Nick Saban. I think that's also a factor.
Yeah.
No doubt in my mind. And as great a coach as Kalen DeBoer is, and he's a damn good coach, I think the coaching edge in a game like this goes to him. And I think you got the best players, and you got a coach who's going to come in there with edge. Listen, it's not lost on Kirby what his record in Tuscaloosa is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not lost on him what his record against Saban is. He's tired of hearing that. And listen, he played at Georgia. He played in games I called in the 90s on Raycom and Jefferson Pilot with Dave Rowe. He's pissed anytime he goes in there as the opposition to Alabama. He wants to win. He's Georgia born and bred. Those fans in Alabama that think he's theirs and they want to take credit for him, he's not hearing it. He's not hearing any of that crap this week. Okay, he wants this game as badly as any game he's ever coached, and that includes national championship games.
Yep. Final minute with Tim Brando again. He's got a big game Friday night, UW at Rutgers. That'll be at 8 o'clock on Fox. I learned a lot from you, and I made a comparison between you and Dick Vitale years ago in that you always promote the sport, and there's not enough broadcasters who do that nowadays. It's about the hot take. It's about something that, and you've always promoted the sport, but this is where the college football playoff comes in, and it's so new that this could be the first time out of 3 times that Alabama and Georgia meet. They could meet in the SEC championship game, and they could meet again in a 12-team college football playoff.
Right. They could.
Yeah. So in a way, this is, I'm not going to say it's a meaningless game. Again, no one promotes it more than you, but I mean, winning this game, you don't point at the other team and say season's over. The chances are you're going to meet a second time and possibly a third time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a new game. It absolutely is. But I don't think that diminishes the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people, I think the pro mentality is that it might diminish the moment. If you prefer to look at college football as a pro game, it diminishes the moment. Colleges don't look at it that way. Players don't, coaches don't, no one does.
Yeah.
Now, as for the playoff, I think the committee would do everything in its power to make certain that even with 12, you do everything in your power to keep those teams apart.
Yes, yes, you do.
Those teams, because you know that they gerrymandered the process. They did it with 4; they'll do it with 12. But let me also say this as it relates to promoting the game. I want to bring up something, if you don't mind. The kid at UNLV that decided to opt out.
Yeah.
With an undefeated team, with 2 wins against Power 4 conferences, and this week I have them number 12 in my poll. And if they were to win out, they could be the college football representative from the group of 5 conferences. The kid Sluka decided to step away, and there's rumors all around about what the offensive coordinator promised, and Barry Odom is saying, "Oh, I wasn't privy to that," and now he's pulling up stakes and taking his redshirt year, and now I'm reading some of my friends that are in the business saying, "Well, there's the end of college athletics and college football as we know it." Blah blah blah. That's such garbage. That is such garbage. Now, look, the chance of a lifetime.
Yeah.
You had the chance to have a team that went to the college football playoff with you as its quarterback, and you may never be in a better position. You could grow your own brand and do whatever you wanted to do, but at the same time, I know that there's got to be more to this story than you're able to tell us on this platform, on social media. So I get that. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Now, for those that are piling on this young guy, and you know who you are because there's a gazillion of them out there crucifying this kid on social media as we speak, saying, you're a horrible teammate, you're selfish, you're this, you're that. They have no clue either. At a certain point, Rick, the player has to take care of whom?
Mm-hmm.
The player.
Oh, yeah.
And he did what he felt was in his best interest. The only thing about college football that we learned from this decision that Sluka, the quarterback at UNLV, made today, the only thing that we learned is something we already knew. And I've been telling you this since we worked together on Sporting News 30 years ago. The worst thing that ever happened to college football was the NCAA's governance of it. We don't need the NCAA to be a part of it at all, period, in the future. They kicked the can down to the curb for 15 years on name, image, and likeness. And this is what happened as an end result. We have free agency with no salary cap, and inevitably somebody was going to take advantage of that. And this young man decided to do it. If not him, somebody else. And there will be more between now and the end of the season.
It's like Kurt Flood. It's like Kurt Flood.
That's not college football's fault.
Yeah.
That's not college football's fault. It's the NCAA's fault. Now, it will be college football's fault if they allow the NCAA to continue to coerce them into believing that Charlie Baker, the leader of the NCAA, will be able to get Congress to help them and somehow fix this with some sort of national legislation. It's not going to happen. Okay, even if the Republicans win 2 of the 3 executive branches, it's still not going to happen in the upcoming election. College football needs to take care of college football. If the colleges want to use the NCAA to run their women's NCAA basketball tournament and the men's NCAA basketball tournament, fine. They've proven they can do that. But when it comes to college football, all they have ever done is undermine it and blank it up.
Outstanding.
And we've got to understand right now from this point forward, and I hope the commissioners of the Power 4 and the commissioners of Group 5 are listening to me. Convince your presidents, because they're the root of the problem. The root of the problem is the presidents of the institutions are saying, well, the NCAA is still God. No, they're not. They're leading you into Nowheresville. You need to run your own ship.
Yeah.
And run it now.
We're out of time, but Tim Brando for college football commissioner. I know you want to do this TV thing for a few more years. All right, Brother Bino. What does Brother Bino think about Bama and the Dogs?
Unbelievable. Brando's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's doing. Never go against a home dog. Are you out of your mind?
And a fly in the ointment.
Oh, the fly in the ointment game this week. Oh, come on now. It's Troy hosting ULM after the Warhawks lost to Texas. Brian Vincent is going to go into Troy and get the W of all W's and win his first Sun Belt game for my alma mater. There you go. You're flying the ointment game.
Tim Brando is in New Jersey. He's got a huge one Friday night. Rutgers playing host to UW, 8 o'clock on Fox. Timmy B, always a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
You got it, Rick.
That conversation was Wednesday. All right, some sharp money coming in on that game. Has the favorite changed? Keep it right here and much more on the Jaguars. We go to 8 o'clock tonight.
Defense just stepping up and playing dominant.
A strong fence protects your yard like a stout defense protects the bank.
#1 takeaway defense.
Each week, Superior Fence and Rail presents the Defensive Player of the Game on 1010XL.
This election, if you want someone who will take care of the messes, someone who isn't afraid to get dirty and work in the trenches, someone who will pump out the problems and prevent future ones, vote for the Duck.
Need your septic tank
tank serviced? Call Duck Rooter, your 5-star Google-rated septic company. Visit duckduckrooter.com.
I approve this message.
When you're stuck, call the duck. DuckDuckRooter.com.
Are you tired of having a plain and boring backyard? Really want to impress your family and friends this year? Then stop by Stone Core on Phillips Highway. Imagine hosting guests at your new outdoor kitchen, relaxing by your custom-built fireplace under a brand new pergola. Stone Core can also remodel your old pool deck and beautiful new pavers. Make your backyard wishes a reality. Visit Stone Core on Phillips Highway and let's get started at stonecore.co. We do outdoors better.
Hey, there's a lab-grown diamond and jewelry sales event going on right now at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Monahan's is known for its natural diamonds and gemstones, but we've had so much demand for lab-grown diamonds that now through the end of September, Monahan Jewelers is having a lab-grown diamond and jewelry sales event. We've brought in a huge selection of lab-grown diamonds and jewelry to meet this incredible demand. Lab-grown diamond sales event now through the end of September at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Ever wonder how you can transform your living spaces into captivating works of art? At First Coast Lighting and Fans, they offer a huge selection of high-quality products to match your desire for elegance, quality, and uniqueness. Visit their showroom on Phillips Highway at the Avenues and step into a world of quality without compromise. Discover the difference that locally owned expertise makes and let them help you experience the transformation from average to extraordinary. At First Coast Lighting and Fans.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On September 27, 1923, New York Yankees legend Lou Gehrig hits his first of his 493 home runs in a game against the Boston Red Sox.
Our slogan, Know Before You Blow, applies to more than just DUI cases. Hi, I'm attorney Lee Lockett of Lockett Law. Battery charges can result in jail time and criminal convictions too, so know before you blow a gasket and hit a loved one or a stranger. Drug crimes like possession of marijuana and cocaine will land you in cuffs too, so know before you blow. In a boating under the influence case, you also have the option to blow or not to blow. So know your options. Know before you blow. Go to knowbeforeyouBlow.com now. Offices Jacksonville.
Jeff Lagerman here. Now that football season is here, make sure your ride can get to that tailgate or away game safely and dependably. You can trust the ASC certified professionals at any of the 27 independently owned Napa Auto Care Centers and the quality Napa parts they use. Napa Auto Care Centers can handle everything: oil changes, air conditioning, brakes, engines, transmissions, and more. Napa Auto Care offers a nationwide 24-month, 24,000-mile peace of mind warranty on most repairs. Find a Napa Auto Care Center near you. JacksNapaAutoCareGroup.com.
Have you tried golfing at the improved Cimarron Golf Club? If you haven't, tell you what, you're missing out on the best deal in Jacksonville. Now, many of you have received a postcard in the mail, and of course, if you bring that with you, $45 plus tax to play. That includes a cart lunch and a beer at the brand new Stone Barrel Tap House. Now, go to the website, that is CimarronGolfClub.com, and sign up for the Wild One Loyalty Program. That's the Wild One Loyalty Program, and get all of these specials emailed to you from Cimarron.
This is the story of the one. As a facility technician installing a new welding station, he knows getting the ventilation right is critical for safety. That's why when questions arise, there's Grainger. Grainger offers detailed technical product information online at his fingertips, so it's easy to find what he needs. Because when it comes to safety, having answers means he and his people can breathe a little easier. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Ballou here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Here you can see.
We love talking sports on 1010XL, and I9 Sports loves giving kids the perfect way to grow up playing sports. Fall and winter registration is underway. Log on to i9sports.com and see all they've got to offer. Kids 3 and up. You can enter 1010 in the promo code for a discount. Year-round sports all across the First Coast. St. John's, Duval, and Clay. Sign up now for fall and winter. Great locations added like Port Family Field, West Eastside Middle, and Duval Charter Bay Meadows. It's all online at i9sports.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Into the Night with Rick Ballou on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
All right, thanks to Tim Brando. Again, we did that on Wednesday. His game's coming up here in about 30 minutes. Rutgers and UW. Miami getting set to kick off here as well against Virginia Tech. Yeah, I mentioned that whole deal about a threesome, and it could happen when you look at Alabama, Georgia. They're playing tomorrow. They could play in the SEC championship game. They could play in the college football playoff. You know, 3 games in 1 year has happened many times in the NFL. The one, unfortunately, around here you remember most is 1999, right, with Tennessee and the Titans. In college football, I think the chances of that happening are really slim because, again, in that smoke-filled room, they're going to move a team down, and they're going to move another team up to avoid that. And honestly, the only real 2 possibilities of that, I guess Tennessee could make their way into the equation, but I think it is Bama and Georgia, and I think it's Oregon and Ohio State. Okay, I think that those are some real chances that in fact could happen there. So,
what about Texas, Georgia?
Yeah, possibly. The only thing is, when you start getting the teams for a second time, that would mean that
they would have to flip-flop wins. Like, Texas would win the first matchup, Georgia wins the second one, I guess.
I wonder, you know, if Bama beats Georgia by a field goal and Texas beats Georgia by a field goal, does Georgia have enough street cred to still be one of those at-large teams?
With 2 losses? Hell yeah. Oh, my God.
But you're not going to face them.
Take 3 losses and get in.
Right, but you're not going to face each other for a third time under that scenario.
Probably not.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? And this will only really get traction once we know we're going inside that smoke-filled room. When you're like, they should clearly be a 5th seed, but then you see that they're a 6th or a 7th seed because they don't want them to mix up with the conference champion.
And we did it 2 years ago with Michigan, Ohio State, right? Like, it was pretty clear that we knew they weren't going to set that game up back-to-back, you know, because they played the last game of the regular season as well. So, yeah, they've done it before. They'll do it again. It's for TV. Yeah. And I'm glad they do that. Let's be real. I don't want to see that back-to-back-to-back.
I got some breaking news, man.
Oh,
I mean, this is huge. Vegas Insider is telling us this. BetMGM has flipped the favorite right now at 7:34 on this Friday. Alabama -1.
Wow.
Over Georgia. Now, depending on where you shop, you're probably going to get Georgia -1.
That's what I'm looking at on what I use, yes.
Yesterday, we were blessed by the great Philly Godfather, who told us he was playing Bama +2.5, and he was going to play Alabama money line. He thinks they're the best team and that they are going to win at home. We just replayed the interview we did Wednesday with Tim Brando, who thinks that Georgia is, I don't want to say a much better team, but clearly the better team, and is going to be able to win this game tomorrow night. What do you think? I mean, this is Georgia has the top-ranked passing defense in college football. I read this statistic today, and I think you read it as well. It blew my mind that 29% of the passes that Jalen Milroe throws travels in the air for 20 yards or more.
Yeah, he's a deep ball guy. Deep ball or run it. I feel like those are his 2 options. I like Alabama here. I picked them last year to beat Georgia. They did. And to me, this Georgia team is not as good as last year's Georgia team. Just losing McConkey and Brock Bowers, like, to me, that's enough. I was definitely starting to question whether Georgia was one of the top teams in the nation after the Kentucky game. I know that they usually have a couple of those, maybe one a season, and they always end up winning it, but They didn't look good. I think Alabama's going to win this game at home. The crappy thing about betting money line on this game is you lose. You're not getting plus money on either of these guys, which sucks.
Yeah, well, that's
like minus 108 for Bama and minus 110 for Georgia,
and that's evil.
It really is nasty work, dude.
To the hardcore gambler, that's just so wrong.
Yeah, it is.
You know, for those who don't gamble, you don't know what you're talking about. Unfortunately, we don't have time to get into it. Georgia's going to have to run the ball to win with Trevor Etienne and the freshman Nate Frazier, and they're missing one of their better offensive linemen. Tate Ratledge is out. It's going to be a game-time decision as well for Mikel Williams, one of the dominant defensive players in all of college football, certainly for Georgia. And again, if you look at the numbers, Bama, 466 yards a game. Georgia, 402 yards a game. Bama, 7.4 yards a snap. I mean, think about that for a minute. You're 2nd and 2 or 2nd and 3. Georgia, 6.9 yards a play. You're 2nd and 3. And this game is going to come down to, as we said at the top, Georgia has the top-ranked passing defense in all of college football. This Starks kid, Malaki Starks, the safety, is absolutely phenomenal. So Greg McElroy made a really good point this week. I want to credit him for it, that when we look at these games, we get technical, and, I just made a point how Georgia's going to have to run it, and I thought in the ditch last week against Georgia, I thought Georgia, or 2 weeks ago against Kentucky, I thought Kentucky was the more physical team against Georgia, but we get into all that so much. It's kind of like the way that the Jags lost to Miami. Miami made big plays, right? Tyreek Hill made a big play. Jalen Waddle made a big play on those crossing patterns. They drew another pass interference call from Tyson Campbell. And this is what McElroy said, is that you crunch the numbers and you look at it from every way. It's probably going to be what team makes the biggest play. And I'll also add to that a lot of times the biggest play can be a complete missed assignment by a defensive player, where all of a sudden you see a guy that's just wide open, and you're like, how did that happen? So I am really excited about this game, and this is what it's all about, coming up on Saturday night at 7:30. So we head to this break. What do you make of your Canes? They're getting ready to tee it off right now.
They're actually about to have to punt on the first drive.
What?
Which is very unlike them, yes. Or it might have been a fumble. I'm not even sure what the refs are doing, but it looks like Virginia Tech's going to get the ball. I like Miami to win this game. I don't know if they'll cover the 20 or 19 or whatever the hell it is. But yeah, I like Miami. I think Virginia Tech is not this Virginia Tech of old. Beamer ball. They've already lost to freaking Vanderbilt and who was it last week? Rutgers.
It was a non-power 5.
Yeah, okay. I like Miami to win tonight. They've beaten Marshall, I think, and
Shannon Dawson on the hot seat there after a 3-0.
It could be a fumble. It looks like they're trying to judge if his arm was going forward, if his knee was down. So Virginia Tech might have the ball in Miami territory to start the game.
Let's come on back, put our final thoughts on this. I got a little bit more on the Jaguars matchup against the Texans. Instead of matchups, I'm going to spill it out for you real briefly. How the Jags beat the Texans. It's pretty simple, and it's not quite as obvious as scoring more points than them.
He's a true American underdog.
I fought for my spot, and I know what it takes to make a championship run. I'm Tom McManus. Join me for stories and insight on Jaguars Today.
Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson Windows and Doors. Fridays on 1010XL.
Imagine driving a late model Corvette, BMW, Mercedes, Lexus, Honda, Chevy, Ford, and more, all at a fraction of the original sticker price. Visit Vaughn Motor Group's indoor showroom and browse a great selection of dream cars that are inspected with warranties. Before you make your next auto purchase, check out Vaughn Motor Group on San Jose Boulevard or at vaughnmotorgroup.com for a complete inventory listing. If you can dream it, you can drive it at Vaughn Motor Group.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, Director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 5-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year and right now graduate making over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or no student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost are the books and the course fees. About $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by November 7th.
Hey, Hicken here. Are you tired of having your carpets professionally cleaned only to have them looking dingy again? Zero Res can help. I'll tell you what, they have the technology. Zero Res uses its patented ZR water that cleans beautifully without using any soaps, detergents, or shampoos. That means zero residue left behind. And guess what? Zero Res falling back in time for September. 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $129, and we'll clean a 4th room for free. That's right. The 4th room is on me. Zero Res, man. Spell it forward. Zero Res, spell it backwards. It's a right way to clean.
This is Chelsea with Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors. Here's what people are saying about working with us.
Installers were professional, courteous, and efficient.
Great customer service. On time, explained the process, and walked me through the installation. Amazing team.
Our experience with Renewal by Anderson was outstanding from beginning to end.
Renewal by Anderson, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit rbafla.com.
License number CGC 1527613.
Renewal by Anderson, custom windows and doors.
Hunters know patience is part of the game.
Just gotta keep hunting.
Jeff Lageman, Captain Kevin Faber, and Captain Kirk Waltz on the Nimnit Outdoors Show. Presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning. Saturday morning from 7 to 10 on 1010XL.
It's a scary time of year,
especially for North Florida jewelry stores. It's a buy one, get one free on wedding bands, happening now through Halloween.
at the St. John's Town Center or at BeardsDiamonds.com.
When you take a sip of Bold City Brewery's many flavors, you're taking a sip of this Bold City. In Duval, since 2008, they've been cranking out craft beer for 16 plus years now. So head to their production house on Roselle Street in Riverside or Bold City downtown and sample a Duke's, their legendary brown ale. 2 great IPAs, plus Duval Light, Killer Whale, and plenty more. It's all on tap at Bold City Brewery, downtown or in Riverside. Log on and taste the craft. BoldCityBrewery.com.
This right here is as good as it gets. This is life getting lived without obligations or complications. This is filling your cup and savoring the moment. This is the gift of presence, served to you in a place where there's room for everyone and enough to go around. And the best part, it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
Thermal Engineers is hiring. Thermal Engineers is a commercial HVAC contractor serving North Florida for over 20 years. Qualified technicians and installers. How does top pay, 401k, and full benefits sound? And a signing bonus. Is it time for a positive change in your career? Join the family-oriented commercial HVAC contractor at Thermal Engineers. Call 230-1172 or go to Thermal Engineers, Inc., an equal opportunity employer.
Lauren Brooks here. If you're in pain and you think you've tried everything, I've got a solution for you. The team at Active Health Jax treats the source of the problem, not just the pain, so you can avoid surgery, cortisone injections, and pain medications. I've had neck aches for years, and I've tried everything from acupunctures to massages with no results. Within minutes of my evaluation and treatment, the tension was gone. It was amazing. Active Health Jax can help you too. Give them a call at 904-296-0202 today or visit them online at activehealthjax.com.
At the First Coast YMCA, you'll find much more than just a gym. We offer many ways to help you be active, reach weight loss goals, and find your inner strength while you connect with your community. Family memberships at the Y include unlimited group exercise classes, childcare while you work out, and youth sports participation. It's easy to join the Y and affordable for all. Plus, the Y is a great place to meet a new circle of friends. Visit the Y near you or online at fcymca.org.
Hey Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
1010 10XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since 87.
This will be our Fix It edition. How to win a game. Sunday at 1 o'clock, which we'll have for you right here on these airwaves. The Jaguars have been terrible this year when it comes to getting to the quarterback. They're 30th in the NFL in pressure rate. They also do not have a takeaway. They are the only team in pro football to yet get a fumble or interception. You're going to have to take away at least one, hopefully two possessions from C.J. Stroud, okay, if you want to pull off this upset. Secondly, we just talked about it a little bit with Georgia and Alabama. Big plays. The statistic that has been rolling through this show this week sounds a little bit like this. Trevor Lawrence has only thrown for 40 yards in the first quarter of all three games combined. Think about that. 40 yards, 3 games. Not 40 a first quarter, not 40 a game, 40 in 3 games, okay? Get that fixed. And how about your third down offense? Absolutely putrid. 7 of 32, 21.9%. Your defense is beaten up. Foye is not going to play. You're without Tyson Campbell again, all right? It's a game-time decision for Darnell Savage. That would definitely help out the safety position, which has been a struggle, and that's to be kind. Some better news today for Jacksonville in the return of Devin Lloyd. If you missed out yesterday with everything that's been going on here with the weather, Devin Lloyd didn't practice because of a knee on Thursday. He did return and practice today for the Jaguars, and let's see, Doug Peterson said he's fine. That was the quote. Back to Savage, Doug Peterson did say, we will see. I don't like the we will see. That doesn't sound as encouraging as it did early in the week on the return of Darnell Savage, but I think that's one of those deals that we won't know until 90 minutes before kickoff coming up on Sunday. So that is what you hope for most in this matchup against Houston, is that this team comes out and makes big plays. That's what they haven't done. That is such a scary statistic to me that, even in the last couple of years, I want to say they were 27 and 30 respectively in takeaways. Remember 3 years ago, they only had 9 takeaways? Then they went to 27, and I think they went to 30 last year, but that number, or 27 a year ago, but that number was camouflaged because Jacksonville themselves, I think, ended up being -3 with 30 turnovers as a football team, but it was still a ball-hawking group. And, say what you want about Mike Caldwell. I thought Deshae Townsend, their passing game coordinator, really helped turn things around as far as getting takeaways. A 0 in 3 games. I mean, you've got to get a couple on Sunday if you're going to be able to pull off this upset. One programming note. Monday now, we will be with you from 2 to 4, okay, because of high school football, and it's going to be on 1010 only. So hopefully it's a happy Monday for you, not the way the last 3 Mondays have gone. I guess this week it would have been a Tuesday. But we want to hear from you on Monday. We'll be with you from 2 until 4 o'clock on the AM side, 1010.
Now, the 2-minute drill, brought to you by Injury Care Centers, the exclusive provider of BioTarget regenerative therapy for pain. Visit GoBioTarget.com for a location near you.
I know we talked about it earlier in the week, but I just want to get your final thoughts. Who do you got tomorrow night, Bama or Georgia?
Ooh, you know what? To me, this is where the game is played. If the game was in Athens, I would go Georgia. I don't have a great explanation for you, but literally because the game is in Tuscaloosa, I'm going to take the Alabama Crimson Tide.
I know you don't get into the wagering and the handicapping the way that I do, but BetMGM just flipped. all of a sudden, it's the only book I've seen out there. Alabama's a 1-point favorite. Every other book was 2, 1.5. It's basically gone down to 1. But obviously, a lot of sharp money came in to totally flip that line with that particular betting entity.
Yeah, and I heard you earlier, and I completely agree. Tomorrow night's the first part of at least probably a 2-parter, if not a trilogy, this year. Because, look, I mean, the odds that Georgia and Alabama are going to see each other again, either in the SEC championship game or in the 12-team playoff, I would think is very high. What's probably on the line tomorrow night is a spot in the SEC championship game. And as we get further along, you got to start thinking, too, about those bye weeks, right? 1 through 4 in the 12-team playoff get the week off. 5 through 12 have to play that extra game. So tomorrow night could go a long way in determining Georgia or Alabama if they get that week off in the playoff.
Jags pull off the upset Sunday?
You know, I've been leaning Texans all week, and as we get closer to the game, I've been thinking more and more about it. I woke up this morning and I was like, man, you know what? Yeah, the Texans are going to still win the game. And it's not, I don't think it's going to be particularly close, and I hope I'm wrong. How in good conscience can you pick Jacksonville to win?
You can't.
Based on the absolute nightmare that Monday night was. And Houston's coming home off their own beating. They're excited to get back out there after Minnesota beat them by 27. Look, you can say all the right things, and the Jaguars have said all the right things. That was a disgraceful performance on Monday. I think it'll be more competitive for whatever that means. I think they'll play better, because I don't know how you can play much worse. But how you can pick them going into the game, I don't know.
Yeah, we've seen some lean times around here and some pretty incredible losing streaks, but I don't remember feeling like this to start the year. And it's for our listeners. And I'm not trying to kiss ass here. I'm just being honest. It's for the Jaguar fans. It's not for the players. It's for the fans. And I just feel so awful for them that this season has begun the way that it has. And I wish I could sit here and say, hey, all you got to do is win Sunday. Then Indy comes here, you're fired, you beat them, then you go across the pond, you beat a couple of teams with young quarterbacks if Drake May's the guy. Then by New England. But that is such wishful thinking at this point. You got to win a football game.
You got to win one to get it going. Now, in a hypothetical world, if Jacksonville goes to Houston and wins the game, despite how awful the first month has been, the Jaguars are 1-3, Houston's 2-2, and the Jaguars have a tiebreaker in the division on the Texans. Oh, that's all it takes. I mean, just go win the game. Having said that, I just don't foresee them going to Houston and winning the game. And at 0-4, you know, which I think we're going to be having this conversation next week. Indianapolis comes here. They haven't beat you at home since 1938. And then you mentioned going to London to play Drake May or Jacoby Brissett and playing Caleb Williams. So you have a chance to rattle off a few, but I just can't imagine them going to Houston and winning.
Since Burt Jones was a quarterback. All right, we're out of time. What's up?
Yeah, Leon Searcy joins me tonight. Also, we'll go to Houston. Adam Wexler, Sports Talk 790, joins me as well to give the Houston side of this ballgame.
Have a fun show, Hager.
Thanks, Rick.
Have a great weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Again, join us Monday, 2 to 4 on the AM, 10:10. Then the rest of the week, back to our normally scheduled show. Thank you to Tim Brando. Thank you to Rick Shoemaker of Cimarron. Thank you to JJ LaSelva. My name is Rick Ballou. Have an outstanding weekend. Again, we'll talk Monday, 2 to 4 on AM 1010. We'll do it then.